Hello and welcome to Various Basics, where our guides are straight to the point and strictly only the basics. In this guide, I will be going over the basics of the Vorkath boss encounter. Before I begin, this guide is meant for beginners, and I will only be going over the ranging method for Vorkath and not the melee method. As far as requirements go, you will need to have completed the Dragon Slayer 2 quest. You will encounter a weaker version of Vorkath during the quest, but the mechanics and strategy are the same as the post-quest version. As far as suggested skills go, I would recommend 85 plus ranged, 75 plus defense, and 75 plus prayer. As far as equipment goes, you will need to bring the best ranging equipment you can manage. The lowest armor that I would suggest is Blessed Dragonhide armor, but ideally you should use Armadillo armor or the Elite Void Ranger set. The suggested next slot items from least effective to most effective would be an Amulet of Fury, Necklace of Anguish, or a Salve Amulet, both enchanted and imbued. If you are on a Slayer task, it is recommended to use a different necklace than the Salve Amulet, as the Slayer helmet accuracy bonus does not stack with the Salve Amulet bonus. In the cape slot, from least effective to most effective, you can use a ranging cape or Ava's device, with the higher tiers of the Ava's device being more effective. As far as your weapon, you can bring either the Toxic Blowpipe or a crossbow. As far as crossbows go, the lowest tier I would suggest is a Rune crossbow, with the Dragon Hunter crossbow being the most effective. As of the making of this video, an update is pending to slightly nerf the Toxic Blowpipe, so the effectiveness of the blowpipe compared to using a crossbow against Vorkath is subject to change. In the shield slot, the most effective shield is the Dragonfire Ward, but the anti-dragon shield works just fine. It is worth mentioning that the Dragonfire shield is not as effective as the normal anti-dragon shield due to its negative range accuracy bonus. As far as ammo goes, if you are using a blowpipe, adamant darts or higher are recommended. If you are using a crossbow, you will need to bring both enchanted ruby bolts and enchanted diamond bolts. In the glove slot, from least to most effective, you'll need to wear Blessed Vambraces or Barrow's gloves, unless you're using the Elite Void setup, in which case you should wear Void Knight gloves. In the boots slot, from least to most effective, you should bring Blessed Dragonhide boots, Ranger boots, or Pegasian boots. In the ring slot, from least to most effective, it's suggested to use an Archer's Ring, Brimstone Ring, an Imbued Ring of Suffering, or an Imbued Archer's Ring. And finally, it is suggested to also bring a Slayer Staff. As a side note, you can bring a Bando's Godsword or Dragon Warhammer to lower Vorkath's defense at the beginning of the encounter. This will speed up the fight, but isn't absolutely necessary. As far as consumables go, you will need prayer potions, good food, bastion or ranging potions, extended super anti-fire potions, anti-venom plus potions, and runes to cast the Crumble Undead spell. If you have a rune pouch, you should bring it as well to reduce the inventory space the runes will take up. It is also suggested to bring a one-click teleport with you, like a teleport sab, in case of emergencies. As far as the location for the boss encounter, Vorkath can be found on the island of Ungel. This island can be reached by speaking with Thorfinn at the docks in Relica, or by left-clicking the boat next to him as indicated by the red circle on this map. If you die during the encounter, you can also speak with Thorfinn to retrieve your gear and items for a fee of 100,000 coins. After you arrive on Ungel, walk north to the rocks and left-click them to climb over. Here, you will find a dormant Vorkath, and left-clicking the boss will start the encounter. Before you begin the fight, there are several different mechanics and attacks you should be aware of. As far as basic attacks, Vorkath will attack with all three combat types. The melee attack can be avoided by staying out of melee range from Vorkath. The ranged attack will occur most commonly and can be avoided by using the Protect from Ranged prayer. If you are using a one-handed weapon and plan to use an anti-dragon shield, you should always keep the Protect from Ranged prayer active. The magic attack occurs less frequently than the ranged attack and can be avoided by using the Protect from Magic prayer. If you are using a two-handed weapon without an anti-dragon shield, like the blowpipe, you should always keep the Protect for Magic prayer active. Along with attacks from the normal combat triangle, Vorkath will also use 3 different Dragonfire type attacks. The orange Dragonfire attack is completely preventable if using the combination of an anti-Dragonfire shield, a super anti-fire potion, and Protect for Magic. The Venom Dragonfire attack, which appears green, is avoidable by having a form of Venom protection active and has a chance of causing the Venom effect if not. The last type of Dragonfire Vorkath can use is the pink Dragonfire attack, which will deactivate all prayers on hits. It is recommended to have the protection prayer you plan to use, as well as the highest range boosting prayer set up under your quick prayers, so that you can quickly turn your prayers back on once this attack lands. The last standard attack that Vorkath will use is the Deadly Dragonfire attack. This attack will appear as a large orange ball of fire that is launched into the air after Vorkath raises its head upwards. This attack can be avoided by moving at least 2 tiles away from the initial area you were standing when the attack was launched. If you take a direct hit from this attack, you will take a very large amount of damage, which is often lethal. If you are standing only 1 tile away from the area, you will take half the amount of damage. Every 7 standard attacks that Vorkath uses, he will use one of 2 special attacks. The first special attack is called the Acid Pool Quickfire Barrage. When Vorkath uses this ability, he will spit acid into the air and shortly after begin to fire a barrage of Dragonfire missiles towards your character. This mechanic is avoidable by constantly moving. It is recommended to quickly find a larger line between the acid pools and to move back and forth between the 2 pools while avoiding walking over either of them. If you do get hit by the acid during the start of the attack or walk over one, it will deal up to 10 damage per game tick and heal Vorkath for the same amount of damage that you take. After 25 Dragonfire attacks have been launched in your direction, the pools will disappear and the fight will continue as normal. The second special attack is called Zombified Ice Dragonfire. This attack will appear as white-colored Dragonfire and will freeze your character in place while giving a similar visual effect as the Ice Barrage spell. After your character is frozen in space, Vorkath will summon a zombified spawn that will appear in a random direction away from your character. While the spawn is alive, Vorkath will be immune to damage. If this zombified spawn is not killed before it reaches you, it will explode and deal up to 60 hit points of damage. To survive this attack, it is recommended to cast the Crumble Undead spell on the spawn as soon as it is visible. To make this process a bit simpler, with the Slayer staff equipped, you can set the auto-cast spell for the staff to the Crumble Undead spell. Even when unequipped, the staff will retain the auto-cast status, so it can easily be swapped for your weapon. This will allow you to skip the extra step of switching to your spellbook and potentially selecting an incorrect spell. Once the spawn has been taken care of, the freezing effect will be removed and you can continue to attack Vorkath. This concludes the basic mechanics and attacks from the Vorkath encounter. The next section of this video is a full clip of the boss encounter. I intentionally performed this fight with lower tier equipment and on an account with relatively mid-tier stats to show a more realistic encounter, as this video is intended to show the basics and provide a simpler explanation for those wanting to learn the fight and that have not yet completed the quest. Also bear in mind that the version of the encounter shown in this clip is the post-quest version and is more difficult than the Vorkath you will face in the quest. And finally, it is also worth mentioning that for this clip, I intentionally performed the encounter while suffering from lack of sleep to show that the fight can be done even when your reaction times aren't perfect and some mistakes are made. I will also be providing some slight voiceover to explain what tactics and methods have helped me in the past, as well as those that will be visible in this clip. You'll see that before I start the encounter, I drink my stat boosting and protection potions and activate my prayers. It may seem silly to mention this action, but things will quickly turn sour if you forget to do this. If you've noticed, I always keep my cursor slightly to the left or right, and my camera in an overhead view so that I can react more quickly to the devastating Dragonfire attack. Again, setting your protection prayers up under your quick prayer menu will allow you to turn your prayers back on much quicker by simply clicking the prayer icon near your minimap when Vorkath uses its pink Dragonfire attack. Here you can see Vorkath using its first special attack in this encounter. As soon as I see the white flames, I quickly switch to the Slayer staff and hover my mouse cursor over the zombified spawn as it's landing. During this Acid Pool Quickfire Barrage, you may notice me eating or drinking potions. This may take some time to get used to, but it helped me a lot when I was first learning this fight. Unless you're using advanced tactics here, you won't be attacking Vorkath during this phase and can use the extra time to heal. Another thing you may notice is that even while not in the Quickfire Barrage phase, I still move while I use Consumables. The reason I do this is to avoid being caught off guard from the deadly Dragonfire attack while eating. During this quickfire barrage, you may have noticed that I intentionally stepped over an acid pool. The reason I did this was to get to a larger space that I can more easily walk between. You can also walk vertically instead, but I've found that for me personally, it's a bit easier to walk horizontally without getting hit by the Dragonfire barrage. Always make sure to heal up and restore your prayer points in the downtime between special attacks and during the quickfire barrage. Doing this should allow you to spend more time attacking when you're able to and save you precious time during this fight. Another thing you might have noticed here is that I click in the opposite direction just a bit before I reach the acid pool my character is heading towards. If you click right as your character reaches the acid pool it's facing, you will most likely end up walking into the acid. You can see here that I switched to diamond bolts. At about 30% HP, the ruby bolts will be less effective because they have a small chance of dealing a percentage of your target's current health, while diamond bolts have a chance of ignoring a portion of your target's defensive bonuses. If you have a keen eye, you probably noticed that my anti-venom protection wore off at this point. If you aren't familiar with the venom effect, it's similar to poison, but starts out by doing 6 damage and increases by 2 each time it hits after that. That being said, it wasn't too threatening at this point, so I didn't bother immediately redosing with my anti-venom, and most likely didn't need to at this point in the fight. And that's basically everything important to know and expect for this encounter. Just remember that Vorkath and pretty much every other boss in the game gets easier with practice. And finally, I just wanted to ask that if anyone has any criticism or suggestions to make, please leave a comment on this video. I create guides as a hobby, and with that being said, I'm sure that every once in a while I might fail to mention something or make a mistake here and there. This concludes the basics of the Vorkath boss encounter. I've left a link to the official wiki article for strategies for this encounter in the description of this video if you're interested in more detailed information and gear setups for this encounter. If you'd enjoy more videos similar to this one, you can subscribe to this channel for easy access to all current and future content provided. To be notified of future content from this channel, you can also left-click on the notification bell located next to the subscribe icon. Feel free to leave a comment to make a request for a guide similar to this one, and thank you for watching.